Firebirds! Ready for another day? Take off. In 3, 2, 1.
Attention Firebirds, this is your Captain Eunz speaking. Carnelian and I would like to thank you for joining us on today's flight. The complimentary entertainment is Otaku Time, which can be found on the screens in front of you. In a world full of different hobbies and interests, Otaku Time lets me share some of mine with you, and I hope you'll share some of yours with me in the comments below.
Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to the HeyEunziverse. May the 4th be with you today as we celebrate the legacy of Star Wars with a few character redraws. I originally designed these characters in an art class on March 15th, 2020. I thought that these creatures would fit well with today's theme, and I imagined them hanging out by a little waterfall oasis hidden somewhere on Yoda's home planet of Dagobah. That planet and those scenes of Yoda and Luke's training time together every so often pop into my mind because they were so iconic and cool. I grew up watching the original episodes 4, 5, and 6 on VHS tapes. Yeah, I'm young, but not that young. And out of those, episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, was definitely my favorite. I'll be honest though, it's been a long time since I've seen anything of the Star Wars franchise, and I haven't kept up with the new era of Star Wars movies and shows. The last one I watched was episode 8, which came out in, holy moly, 2017. I heard that the Mandalorian series, especially the first season, is amazing, so it's high on my list of things to watch. But I often don't watch things that I want to give my 100% attention to because I have to work. And when I'm drawing, I obviously can't be focused on the screen displaying whatever movie or show is trending. So there's a lot that has piled up on my list of things to watch, and my friends and family will tell you that whenever something's mentioned, I'll respond with, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that and it's on my list." As for when I'll get around to the things on said list, it's a mystery. Anyway, let's discuss some backstory with this school project. I don't remember the exact prompt, but it was something along the lines of design a minimum of 3 characters in at least 3 different styles. In the end, I settled on doing 4 creatures and 3 styles. 2 of the creatures I did in full line work with more flat coloration, 1 I did in what I assumed was supposed to be half line and half painted, and 1 I did fully painted with no obvious line work. I noticed that each page was interesting on its own because the creatures contrasted in color against the other. But when I put all 4 together on a page, it was incredibly boring because 2 were orangey brown and 2 were blue with pink or purple details. So the goal for me drawing it now, 4 years later, was to diversify the colors. I also made the illustration cohesive by drawing everything in one style and in one setting. In addition to the creatures, I threw in some cool and creepy plants you might find on Dagobah. Be careful though, one wrong move and some of them might eat ya. I was originally going to blur the plants as if far in the foreground so that the creatures would be more clearly highlighted. But that felt like a waste with how much fun detail was going on, so I left them unblurred. My general process in creating art is as follows. Step 1 is to collect reference images. Step 2 is to create an extremely rough sketch. Step 3 is to make a refined sketch. Step 4 is to complete the line work. Step 5 is to lay down all the flat colors. Step 6 is to tone and establish shadows. Step 7 is to establish highlights. And step 8 is any fancy final touches I want to add to the piece. Sometimes I'll consolidate steps, skip steps, or do the steps out of order. But this is the basic skeleton I usually follow. So far, I've just been showing the drawing time-lapse that I export from Procreate, which is a program I use for art. But I've been wanting to mix in clips of how I actually draw. I hope this hybrid style of lo-fi painting isn't too hectic. Also, I have to apologize for any shaky footage there might be in this video. I had my phone, which I used to film, propped on the same table that I was drawing on, so there was a lot of shaking when I went to edit it. I tried to minimize how much of that footage I used, but I thought I'd give you a heads up anyway. Next time, I'll have my camera on a different table to avoid this issue. Now let's get into the creature features. Just a disclaimer that all of this is non-canon and all in good fun. Starting in the top left, we have 2 acorn needles. Bearing shells that mimic giant acorns and are just as tough, these vegetarian creatures roam the understory of the swamp. Much of the ground level is very dark, so they are blind from birth. In order to get around and source their favorite leafy greens, they rely on their excellent sense of smell and highly sensitive claws. They love to munch on the poisonous tropi, which in turn makes them poisonous. Should any predator try to consume them, it would be in for fatal repercussions. Thankfully, they are not commonly targeted and are themselves quite peaceful. Young acorn needles spend most of their youth up in the canopies, so they are brighter in color. Occasionally, they descend with their parents to the ground floor. Mature acorn needles are darker and duller in appearance with larger crests on their heads. Over time, mosses start to grow on their shells. This assists with their camouflage. Creature feature number 2 is the mischievous UV Radamander, which is in the top right. There are several different species of Radamanders, but the most prolific is the UV variety. Taking advantage of its intense neon coloring, it is the most successful species in capturing prey. Their diet consists of mostly flies, gnats, and mosquitoes, so it makes burrows near sources of water. The stripe pattern of the UV Radamander attracts prey towards a luminescent growth on top of its head. The prey excitedly attaches to the light and finds themselves in a sticky bind. The UV Radamander then takes the opportunity to slurp it down in one gulp. When it's not eating its own prey, the UV Radamander will often steal from other creatures nearby simply to escape boredom. Despite having many enemies, it's rather elusive, so it remains as a large population of pests. Creature feature number 3 and 4, Scorpiphant on the bottom left and Frowse on the bottom right, are natural enemies. The Frouse is poisonous as noted by its bright flashy colors. This protects it from most predators, but the scorpion carries a neutralizing enzyme in its stingers that counters the poison and renders the Frouse safe to eat. Constantly in a game of cat and mouse, the Frouse spends most of its days running from the scorpion. Its only saving grace is that the scorpion cannot swim while the Frouse can. If a Frouse is within range of the scorpion's tail, then it's the scorpion's win that day. But if a Frouse manages to get to the water and swim far enough away in time, then it's the Frouse's win. Neither is very bright though, so the scorpion has never adapted to eat anything other than Frouses, and Frouses quickly forget the dangers lurking on land and curiosity calls it out of the water and into the scorpion's bellies. What'd you think of this kind of episode? Did it tickle your imagination? Let me know if you like Star Wars, which episode is your favorite, and which creature you like the best in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
As we come in for a landing, Carnelia and I hope you had as much fun as we did on today's adventure. Until next launch, let's stay connected.